Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, February the 4th. We do have, a little bit of a bigger slate for Friday. We got a 9-gamer. As always, guys, we're going to talk through each one of these 9 games. We're going to break down each team, kind of give my early thoughts, what I do like, taking a first look at this slate on Thursday night. And then as we do go through each game, we'll build out an early core. We'll talk about 5 players that specifically stand out to me on both Draftkings and on Yahoo. But before we do get started with the breakdown, as always, please do hit that like button down below if you guys do enjoy all these videos. If you're new to the channel and you have not yet, please be sure to click that subscribe button as well. And if you want to check out the sponsor of this video, PrizePicks, you can sign up over there, use code NOAH when you do, and PrizePicks will give you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. For those of you that are new here, PrizePicks is just more of a player prop based DFS site. So it is very simple. You're just picking the over or the under on players' projections. You can take a look at their board for Friday night's NBA games. Take a look at all their projections they have available. They have points, assists, rebounders, or rebounds, points, rebounds, assists added up all together. They'll have three-pointers made. They have fantasy point projections as well. So, if you have access to fantasy point projections, you can compare your projections to PrizePicks projections and make your decisions that way, whether you want to go over or under on a certain player's projection. But you have to make at least 2 picks. You can make up to 5 picks, though, and you can win up to 10 extra money on PrizePicks. So if you guys do want to sign up over there, make sure to use code NOAH, and you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up with my code. And if you guys want my favorite plays on PrizePicks each day, I do give those out on Patreon. I give all my favorite plays along with the entries that I am playing myself, so you can tell me on the entries that I put my own money on. Again, that's all available on Patreon. Link down below in the description if you are interested in that. But yeah, guys, let's take a look at Friday's 9-game slate. We're going to start off with the Cavs and Hornets game. So looking at Cleveland today, pretty good spot here against the Hornets. The Hornets, in terms of pace, they've been one of the fastest paced teams in the league this year. So far on the season, they are second in pace. It's a really good spot for these Cavs guys. I think the bigs here, Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, both are viable today. It is a really good spot. I think Charlotte's a team you can definitely beat down low. This is definitely a spot where we could see a really big game from Jarrett Allen. Jarrett Allen really struggled with fouls last game. He got into some major foul trouble against Houston. Only played 23 minutes, but I would expect if he stays out of foul trouble here, if the game's close, we're going to get like 35, 36 minutes from Jarrett Allen. And at 7,900 in a good matchup against Charlotte, I think Jarrett Allen offers some big-time upside. I think Evan Mobley is a solid play as well. He had a big ceiling game last game. I think a lot of that, kind of had to do with Jarrett Allen being in foul trouble. But Mobley, last game was really good. Played big minutes. He's always going to play big minutes if it's a close game. And again, really good matchup against Charlotte. So Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, I think, are both viable today. I probably would side with Allen if I had to pick one of the two. Kevin Love at 6,900, I think, is priced to a point where I just don't really have much interest in him. I know he had a really good game last game, but you're paying the premium for Kevin Love right now. He's still going to be splitting minutes with Mobley and Allen. It's going to be really tough for Kevin Love to get 30-plus minutes when he's playing, when those guys are healthy. I think a lot of the reason the Kevin Love played so much last game was due to Allen being in foul trouble. So not a ton of interest in Kevin Love for me at this price point. Do want to talk about some of these other guys though. So Cedi Osman at 5,400. He did start once again last game and played big minutes. He has been starting the last 2 games with Darius Garland out. Played 38 and 35 minutes the last 2 games. Hasn't been super productive, but the minutes are the main thing for me. He's playing huge minutes right now. The price tag has come up. I don't think at this price point he really gets a ton of ownership today, but I like going back to Cedi Osman. I think the matchup's really good. The minutes are going to be there. At 5,400, I think he still has the upside to pay off this price point. He can give us 30-plus DraftKings points, especially when he's playing 35, 38 minutes. So I still do like Cedi Osman today. I'm at 5,400. I think it looks pretty good on Yahoo as well. He's fairly cheap over there if you want to play Cedi Osman on Yahoo for $15 at small forward. I like him quite a bit on Yahoo. And then I want to talk about Brandon Goodwin as well. So Brandon Goodwin he did actually start last game. We saw the first game when Darius Garland was out. Goodwin did not start, but he played 27 minutes off the bench. Well, last game they moved Dean Wade to the bench and actually started Goodwin. Goodwin played 32 minutes. He was really productive. He's been productive the last 2 games that he's gotten minutes in. At 4,100, I think Goodwin is still too cheap today if we expect him to play close to 30 minutes. Obviously, a good matchup against the Hornets. I definitely like Brandon Goodwin as a value play today, assuming that he does start again for Garland. 4,100 on DK. He's minimum salary on Yahoo. I like Goodwin quite a bit on both sides. Him and Osman, I think, are both pretty solid plays here. And that's probably it for me from Cleveland. Okoro probably won't be going to. Rondo just hasn't been getting enough minutes. It seems like they prefer giving Goodwin minutes right now over Rondo. So Rondo's kind of tough to trust. That's probably it from the Cavs. So we can look at the other side of this game and talk about Charlotte. With Charlotte, it's Charlotte's always an interesting team because they do play their starters like so many minutes. If it's a close game, you're going to get like 35, 36 minutes from LaMelo, from Miles Bridges, Rozier. You'll see big minutes from Kelly Oubre off the bench. Gordon Hayward, if he's able to play, should play big minutes as well. But the issue is just, it's a really tough spot against Cleveland. Cleveland plays really good defense. They've been playing at a really slow pace. The pricing on Charlotte looks pretty good. Like, I don't think, anyone's priced, or I don't think anyone's really underpriced here. You're kind of paying the premium for everyone on Charlotte. If you want to take a shot on LaMelo in tournaments, I don't hate it. LaMelo should be really low owned on a big slate like this. Rozier should be low owned, but there isn't too much that stands out from Charlotte here. Just, tough spot. The pricing, I think, is where it should be. Maybe Gordon Hayward. Like, Gordon Hayward's price has come down to $5,800. I think if Gordon Hayward plays today, like, he kind of looks appealing at $5,800. But even then, just more of a contrarian option. I think we can go ahead and move on to the next game. Talk about Boston and Detroit. So Boston today, there isn't much that I really like here either. Boston, they're pretty much fully healthy right now. They're really not missing anyone. The pricing of Boston, it's kind of similar to Charlotte. Like, everyone on the Celtics feels priced where they should be. You're not really getting, great discounts on anyone. Tatum can always put up a big game. Jaylen Brown can always put up a big game. But again, at their price tags on a 9-game slate, I don't really think either one stand out. Robert Williams at $7K doesn't really stand out. The rest of these Boston guys I'm not interested in. If I had to play anyone on the Celtics, it would be one of the top two guys, Tatum and Brown. But even on this slate, like, I don't think they really stand out to me. And then on Detroit, tough spot here going up against Boston. This is a back-to-back for Detroit. They did play on Thursday. We'll have to pay attention to the injury report because Cade Cunningham was questionable Thursday and did not play. So we don't really have any update on his status for Friday. If Cade Cunningham does get ruled out again, that would benefit guys like Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey. We saw Sadiq Bey have a massive game on Thursday. He put up, like, I want to say almost 50 fantasy points, I do believe. Let me see. Yahoo, I know they have the game log updated. So, yeah, 50 fantasy points, 33 minutes from Sadiq Bey, 21, 13, and 8. He was great on Thursday. In a matchup here against the Celtics, like, I don't think Sadiq Bey would really stand out, even if Cade's out again. But, with how well he played Thursday, maybe not having Cade out there is really, really good for Sadiq Bey. It was really good for him Thursday. So, I guess Sadiq Bey could be someone worth considering. For the value, we could look to maybe a guy like Frank Jackson. I know he played pretty well off the bench. He played 27 minutes, had 32 fantasy points. I know Corey Joseph started in place of Cade. He played 30 minutes, had 20 fantasy points. Like, these are guys you could definitely throw some darts on and for value. Corey Joseph, Frank Jackson, I think are both viable if Cade is out again. But I'm not really going to get that excited about many Pistons here. The Pistons are a team I normally don't look to target that often. And on a 9-game slate in a matchup against Boston, I don't see too much I love here. So we can move on to the next game and talk about the Bulls and the Pacers. So the Bulls, they're one of the teams that we're going to really have to watch the injury report. So they did play on Thursday against Toronto. This is the second half of a back-to-back. Zach LaVine was questionable on Thursday and ultimately wound up playing, but they've already reported that his status is up in the air. So I think there's a pretty good chance Zach LaVine doesn't play today. I think there's also a chance that maybe one of, if not both, of DeRozan and Vooch get rested. We saw last time, I'm pretty sure last time the Bulls were on a back-to-back, they rested DeRozan. So, man, I think there's a really good shot we see a lot of guys ruled out here. I think LaVine's definitely going to be out. I think there's a possibility that maybe DeRozan or Vooch could be out. We're going to have to watch the injury report. Luckily, this is a 7 o'clock game, so we'll have all this news before lock. But we're going to have to keep an eye on things here. If LaVine is out and DeRozan and Vooch both play, then I think DeRozan and Vooch are both going to look like pretty solid options because they're obviously going to get big boost if LaVine doesn't play. DeRozan's been really, really good lately. He's been playing massive minutes. His usage would go way up if LaVine's out. Same could be said for Vooch at 9,400. I think both these guys would be pretty good options. Really, really good spot for Vooch going up against, I don't even know. I think at this point I forgot the dude's name. It's like Trent Taylor or what's his name? Let me see. Forgot the dude's name. Terry Taylor. So that's it. So Terry Taylor, we're going to talk about him in a second. He's probably going to be starting at center for the Pacers. Vooch against Terry Taylor, that's a great spot for him. So, Vooch and DeRozan, I think, would both be pretty good options here if LaVine doesn't play. If LaVine plays, then I don't really see much I like from Indiana or from Chicago. Excuse me. Kobe White, DeSomo, they're only going to be guys I consider if LaVine sits. If LaVine plays, I wouldn't be going to them. It's a tough team to break down. We'll talk more about the Bulls on the live stream Friday. I have a feeling we're going to see some guys get ruled out here just because it's the second half of back-to-back. It was an overtime game on Thursday. LaVine's probably going to sit. I think there's a good chance DeRozan or Vooch, one of the two sit, if not both sit. This could be value galore. So we'll just have to wait and see with the Bulls. For now, I think if Levine is out, DeRozan, Vooch would both look really good. I think Kobe White would be viable as well if you wanted to go to him. But looking at the other side of this game with the Pacers, so the Pacers, I mean, they're still really shorthanded. No Domantas Sabonis, no Malcolm Brogdon. Isaiah Jackson got injured last game. He's going to be out. They're still without Miles Turner. Goga Batadze was questionable last game. He's questionable once again. We actually did see Terry Taylor. I do want to talk about him real quick. So we saw Terry Taylor play big minutes last game after Isaiah Jackson got injured. Terry Taylor played 37 minutes, filled in for Jackson, had 52 DraftKings points. He was really, really productive in those, 37 minutes. I mean, 4,200, assuming that Terry Taylor starts in place of Isaiah Jackson, we'll have to pay attention to this because I think if Goga plays, there's a possibility that Goga could be the starter. But if Goga's out, I'm expecting Terry Taylor to start at center. He's probably going to be one of the best value plays on the slate. Definitely like Terry Taylor on both sites. He's really cheap on DraftKings. He's a shooting guard on Yahoo. I really have no idea why, but Terry Taylor, shooting guard on Yahoo, $14. Like him quite a bit over there as well, assuming that he's starting. Now, yeah, again, this will have to be something we pay attention to because Goga's questionable. If he plays, he could maybe start. They do have O'Shea Brissett, who's also questionable. O'Shea Brissett's someone they could start at the 5 if he's able to go. But for now, assuming that Terry Taylor is the starting center, he's probably one of the best value plays on the slate. I think Karis LeVert looks like a pretty good pay-up option. LeVert was on a stretch where he was just playing really, really bad. Finally picked it up last game against Orlando, played 34 minutes, was really productive, had 26 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, a block, and 2 steals. LeVert's someone that does offer big-time upside, especially with all these guys out right now for Indiana. No Sabonis, no Brogdon, no Turner. Like, the usage for LeVert's just going to be massive. And especially, like, if Chicago rests a lot of guys today, I think this game can stay close to where LeVert does play his full minutes. So I like LeVert quite a bit as a pay-up option today. $8,400 on DraftKings, $32 on Yahoo. I like him a good amount on Yahoo as well if you want to play him over there. I think he's a really good pay-up option on both sides. And, this Pacers team, they're not very good right now. They're very injury depleted. But again, I think Chicago probably rests some guys today, so that makes it a lot more likely this game stays close. We get full minutes from LeVert, and 8,400. I think he has 50-plus point upside and can still be worth the price point. So definitely like LeVert, definitely like Terry Taylor if he starts at center. And that's probably it from Indiana. I think Torrey Craig could maybe be worth going to. He played really, really well last game, played big minutes. I think we might see Torrey Craig get some small ball 5 minutes if all these guys are out. If Goga's out, if Brissett's out, they could play Torrey Craig at the 5 some whenever Terry Taylor's not out there. They really don't have any other bigs outside of Taylor. They don't have anyone else, I don't think. So they're probably going to use Torrey Craig as the backup 5. If 4,600, I think he's an okay value play. But this game in general, this Pacers-Bulls game, this is going to be one we have to watch the injury report because there's a lot of guys questionable right now. A lot of things could change here, depending on who plays or who gets ruled out. But for now, I think this could be a game worth targeting if a lot of guys do wind up sitting here. We'll move on to the next game, talk about Atlanta and Toronto. So Atlanta, they're another team on a back-to-back. They've been dealing with some injuries. Trae Young was questionable Thursday, ultimately wound up playing. I think there's somewhat of a possibility that Trae Young could maybe sit today on the back-to-back. If he does play, I don't think it's a great spot on the road against the Raptors, but Trae always offers big-time upside. John Collins got injured in Thursday's game, was able to return, I do believe. They've already come out and said, or he's already come out and said that he plans to play for today, but this will be something to monitor with Collins, kind of his status kind of being up in the air right now. The rest of Atlanta, there's not much that really stands out here. I think the only way I'd be going to guys on Atlanta is if Trae sits because it is a back-to-back. But for now, expecting Trae to play, expecting everyone to play, I don't see too much I really like on the Hawks. This will just kind of be a spot to wait and see on. If guys start getting ruled out, specifically Trae, then we could look to Bogdan, we could look to Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter. But for now, I don't see too much I like on Atlanta. And then on the Raptors side, looking at Toronto, so we kind of know the deal with Toronto. They're on a back-to-back as well, but I would expect, everyone plays here. And when it comes to the Raptors, the 5 starters, we talk about this every video, Siakam, Van Vliet, OG, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent. Those 5 guys are all going to play 35-plus minutes if this is a close game. It's a really good matchup against Atlanta. Atlanta this year defensively hasn't been as good as they were last season. In terms of pace, they haven't been a super fast-paced team, but the matchup is pretty good. I think you can definitely consider some of these guys in tournaments. I think Van Vliet at 8,600, probably my favorite Raptor to go to today. I don't have much of a preference when it comes to these 5 guys. I think they all project about where they should at their price point. I don't think any of them are drastically underpriced, but I think Van Vliet at 8,600 does offer plenty of upside at this price tag. We know if this game's close, Van Vliet's going to play close to 40 minutes, so might be my favorite Raptor, but I think all 5 starters are viable here. I think they're all in play for sure, but that's really it for Toronto. We can move on to the other game, next game, Houston and San Antonio. So Houston today, Christian Wood, 8,700. I think is a fine option on this slate. I don't think Wood stands out as like a priority. Really, there's never going to be a slate where like I want to be loading up on Rockets unless they're like injury depleted. Right now, that's not really the case, but this is a game that does have some high scoring upside. These are two teams that do play fairly fast. So far this season, the Rockets, they're leading the league in pace, and the Spurs are 5th in pace. So both these teams are top 5 in pace this season. Should see a lot of points scored here. I think if the game can stay close, like Christian Wood offers upside at his price point, Kevin Porter Jr. offers upside at his price point. I don't think either one are like priorities for me on this slate, but if you're playing, multiple lineups, 5-10 lineups, I could see sprinkling in a little bit of Wood, a little bit of Porter. Outside of those two guys, I'm not really looking to many other Rockets. This is a team I really try and stay away from, rostering guys from, just because they're a bad team. They get blown out a lot. They can spread out the minutes, especially when it comes to like the bench guys. But those two guys, particularly Wood and Porter, I think are viable on this slate. And then on the San Antonio side, so San Antonio, another team with just a lot of question marks right now. Dejounte Murray, Jakob Poeltl were both out on Thursday. We don't really have any update on their statuses for Friday's game. I'm expecting them to play just for now. If they do, if Murray and Poeltl play, specifically Murray, I think it's a great spot for him against Houston. He has crushed against Houston this season. Through 2 games against them, he's put up an average of 60 DraftKings points. Dejounte Murray snubbed from the All-Star game, so maybe, a little bit of a narrative here. Maybe he tries to show out with, him being an All-Star snub. He should have made an All-Star game. I tweeted about that last night. But I think Murray, it's a really good spot for Dejounte Murray. I think he has big-time upside here. It's a fast-paced game. Houston plays no defense at all. We should get big minutes from Murray if the game stays close. So I definitely like Dejounte Murray as a pay-up option if he's able to play today. If he doesn't play, then we can start to look to some of these other Spurs. Derek White, Devin Vassell, Lonnie Walker, Trey Jones. Now, these guys were pretty disappointing on Thursday. I had a lot of interest in a lot of Spurs on Thursday's slate, and they got the crap beat out of them by Miami. A lot of these guys really disappointed. Derek White only put up 23 fantasy points in 21 minutes, obviously was limited by the blowout. Devin Vassell was productive in his limited minutes, 22 minutes and 20 fantasy points. But again, minutes were cut because of the blowout. Keldon Johnson got injured in Thursday's game, but wound up returning. I think these guys are definitely going to be worth going back to. I know they got blown out Thursday, but this is a much different spot. They had to play a really good Miami team Thursday, and now they get to play the freaking Rockets. Like, if Murray's out, if Poeltl's out, I'm going right back to Derek White, to Devin Vassell, to Trey Jones. Like, these guys are going to be really good value plays. And then, if Jakob Poeltl's out, we actually saw Thaddeus Young start at center. He didn't play a ton of minutes. I think he played like 22 minutes. But Thaddeus Young has always been a really good producer, a really good point-per-minute player. It's still minimum 3K. If Thaddeus Young starts again, he's going to be probably one of the best value plays on the slate. I would be fine going right back to him. So there is going to be a lot to like from the Spurs if Murray and Poeltl are both out. If Murray and Poeltl play, I think they're viable. I think maybe Derek White could be worth going to, but in general, I would have a lot more interest in San Antonio guys if Murray, Poeltl are out again. But this is news we're just gonna have to kind of wait and see on. So looking at the other side, or the next game, we'll talk about the Pelicans and the Nuggets. So the Pelicans today, they're not a team I really have a ton of interest in. J-Val at 8,500. Don't love the spot against Jokic. He did do really well against Jokic earlier this season for what it's worth. Put up 51 DK points in 39 minutes against Denver. But Jokic has been a really good defensive center this year. I think Joe-Val will play big minutes here. I think they're going to want to match Joe-Val's minutes with Jokic. I don't think they really want Jackson Hayes out there guarding Jokic. So like if Jokic plays 38 minutes today, I think there's a good chance that J-Val plays like 38 minutes. For that reason, I guess J-Val could be a fine tournament play. We know he does offer big-time upside. Brandon Ingram at 8,200, another guy that offers upside, but on this slate at this price point, I don't think Ingram really stands out today. Not a guy I have a ton of interest in. Josh Hart is currently questionable. If he plays, I don't really have much interest in him. If he gets ruled out, that would benefit someone like Brandon Ingram, but still, I don't think Ingram would really stand out. If Josh Hart does sit, I'm guessing they would start, I don't even know who they would start. I don't know who they've been starting for Hart. I think it's been I want to say they were starting Garrett Temple in place of Hart. Maybe they start NAW. I don't know. If NAW were to start for Hart, he'd actually be an okay value at 5K. We know NAW can be productive when he gets minutes, but I really don't see a ton I love from the Pelicans today. J-Val maybe in tournaments could be worth throwing some shots on, but there isn't a ton I really like on New Orleans. Now on the Denver side, Jokic, I think, looks like one of the better pay-up options today. 12,400, really expensive, but any slate Jokic is on, he's one of my favorite pay-up options, and I think that's definitely the case today. I like him quite a bit on both sides. I think on Yahoo, he's expensive over there as well, but $57, I want to try and fit him in on Yahoo if I can. I think that we will see a lot of value open up as the day goes on today, just because there are so many questionable guys right now. There's so much up in the air that good chance some guys get ruled out. Teams are on back-to-backs. We're probably going to get some value that opens up as the day goes on, which should make it pretty easy to pay up for a guy like Jokic. And any slate I can spend up for Jokic, I always want to look to do that. Jokic just has a massive, massive floor. He has a massive ceiling. If this game's close, we know Jokic is going to play upper 30s minutes. Even in a blowout last game against Minnesota, he still put up 54 DraftKings points in just 3 quarters. I mean, he's one of the best fantasy options every single night. I think Jokic is a great play here. The rest of Denver, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Monte Morris, like these guys don't really stand out to me. I think Jokic is the guy that I really like from Denver. But we can go ahead and move on to the next game, talk about Brooklyn and Utah. So Brooklyn today, not a ton that I really love here. Utah, they're still without Rudy Gobert, but they are getting Donovan Mitchell back for this game. I think this is a game that does have a little bit of blowout risk. I think Utah does have the upper hand against this Brooklyn team. I don't see too much I really like from Brooklyn. Harden and Kyrie are both always viable, especially while KD's out. Obviously, Harden and Kyrie both have a lot of upside. But on the road against the Jazz, this is just not the best spot for these Brooklyn guys. I don't think this is a slate where I really want to be loading up on Nets. And the rest of Brooklyn, Claxton was really, really good last game. I played Claxton the slate before that, and he was terrible. Last game, he showed out, put up 51 DraftKings points in 29 minutes. I mean, Claxton's a good point-per-minute player. He has that kind of upside. Without Rudy Gobert, I think it's a pretty good spot for Claxton, but does he play 29 minutes again? I really don't know. We've seen him make starts before and play 20 minutes, so even though Claxton played great last game, I don't have a ton of interest in him on this slate. I really don't see a ton I like from Brooklyn. And then on the Utah side, with Donovan Mitchell back, I mean, there's not much I really like from Utah. Conley and Bojan and Clarkson, they're all priced up for when Mitchell was out, so they don't really stand out today. I think Mitchell himself at 8,400 looks kind of appealing. During the whole season, we've been paying, mid to upper 9Ks for Mitchell. We haven't seen him priced at 8,400 in a while. I don't know why he got his price bumped down so much. We will have to pay attention to his minutes for today because he hasn't played in 2 or 3 weeks. So there's at least a possibility that he's on a minutes limit. But 8,400 Donovan Mitchell, if he's not limited, I think this kind of looks appealing. Brooklyn has been a really bad defensive team this year. I think Mitchell's someone we can look to. Whiteside, if he plays, I do like the spot against Brooklyn. I'd assume he would start with Gobert out. If Whiteside plays, I think he's a pretty decent option at 6,400. That's probably it though from Utah. If Whiteside's out again, they probably start Azubuike at center. Azubuike started at center last game, played 22 minutes. I don't think I'd be going to Azubuike on this slate, but I think you would see more minutes for a guy like Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay last game played 26 minutes, was really productive. We know Brooklyn is okay playing small ball, so I think that would definitely benefit a guy like Rudy Gay at 4,400. If Whiteside sits, I think Rudy Gay is viable, but I don't see a ton I love from this game. Should be a fun game to watch, but for DFS purposes, there isn't much I really love. So we can move on to the next one, talk about Philly and Dallas. So looking at the Sixers today, the Sixers, when it comes to this team, I think right now, given where the pricing is, the only guy that really stands out from the Sixers is Joel Embiid. 12,300. He's really expensive. He's priced right up there with Jokic. I think I do prefer Jokic over Embiid today, but Embiid's just been so freaking good lately. His minutes have been massive. He's been playing 35, 36 minutes a night. His usage has been through the roof. He's taken 20-plus shots a game. His rebounds have been way up. He's been getting a ton of assists. He's just been stuffing the stat sheet. I mean, you look at his game log, 50-plus DraftKings points now in 7 straight games or something like that. 7 straight games with at least 50 DK points from Embiid. Been so consistent, playing big minutes. His role is just absurd right now. He's firmly in play from Philly. I think he's a very strong pay-up option if you want to go there. Again, I slightly prefer Jokic, but I think Embiid's viable. The rest of the Sixers, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, if he plays, none of those guys stand out at their price points. So we can go ahead and move on to the other side of this game and talk about the Mavs. So looking at Dallas, you have Luka at 11,900. Luka's another guy that is always viable. He's been really good as of late as well. You look at the last few games for Luka, 64, 71, 71 DraftKings points. Matchup against Philly, I don't love. Philly does play really slow. I'm guessing Matisse Thybulle will probably be guarding Luka, and that's not the greatest spot for Luka. But his role without Porzingis is just going to be so good. He's going to have the ball in his hands so much. Going to take a ton of shots. I mean, you look at his field goal attempts these last few games, 21, 22, 33 shot attempts. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to get assists. We know Luka has triple-double upside every night. I think my preference in terms of studs right now is probably Jokic and Embiid, or probably my two favorites. But I think Luka's firmly in play. He's probably the one guy I'd be getting to from Dallas. I don't see too much else I like on this Mavs team. You know, Brunson, DFS, Reggie Bullock, like these guys don't stand out. Maxi Kleber never really offers much upside. It's probably just Luka for me, and that's it from the Mavs. So we can go ahead and talk about the last game of the night, OKC and Portland. So OKC, you know, SGA still out for the Thunder. So Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, both viable options. You know, both are going to play big minutes. If this game is close, you'll probably get mid to upper 30s minutes from Josh Giddey, mid to upper 30s minutes from Lou Dort. I think the pricing for both guys, you know, feels about right. Maybe Giddey is still a little bit too cheap. I think Giddey does offer big time upside, can put up a triple-double. You know, we saw him have a massive triple-double earlier this season whenever SGA was out. A good matchup against Portland as well. Like, I think Giddey's a pretty decent play at 7,700. I don't mind Lou Dort either. Yeah, I do kind of question Lou Dort's upside, but man, he's been playing really well lately. He's been showing a big ceiling, 47 and 46 DK points in 2 of their last 3 games. You know, is that sustainable for Lou Dort? I don't really know, but I think having no SGA out there is beneficial for him. So Lou Dort definitely in play if you want to go to him. The rest of OKC, I'm not too excited about. You know, these bench guys I just really never play. It's a 9-game slate. I have a feeling that better value is going to open up as the day goes on. So from the Thunder, I think I'm really just looking at Giddey and Dort, and that's probably it from OKC. And then on the Portland side, talking about the Blazers here, CJ McCollum at 8,300. You know, his role without Dame, going to be really good. He's going to play big minutes if it's a close game. I think the price tag, though, has gotten to a point where CJ doesn't really stand out. I was playing CJ a lot when he was, you know, 7,300 like he was a week ago. Now that his price is up $1,000 on a 9-game slate, like I think CJ is viable, but not a priority for me. Nurkic, I definitely like the spot here against OKC. This should be a matchup that he should be able to dominate in. Now, these teams did just play a couple of days ago, and Nurkic was pretty underwhelming. Only had 29 DK points in 31 minutes, but we know Nurkic has big-time upside. He can put up 50-plus DK points any night. Should be really low owned on a big slate like this. So, you know, Nurkic in tournaments for low ownership, I don't mind. Norman Powell, you know, Robert Covington, I don't think these guys stand out. I think Anthony Simons is still in play at 6,600. Like, between Simons or McCollum, I think I'd rather play Simons given that he's almost $2,000 cheaper. I think he has just as much upside as CJ McCollum does. Again, there's not too much I love from Portland, but you can throw some darts on CJ McCollum, on Nurkic, on Simons. In general, though, this is, you know, not a team I'm really that excited to roster, just because I think everyone on Portland kind of priced where they should be. And I have a feeling that we're going to have some, you know, kind of shorthanded teams today with a lot of value. I don't think I'm really going to be loading up on Portland, who, you know, right now, the pricing is kind of, you know, accurate for the Portland guys. The pricing has adjusted for Dame being out, for, you know, Nasir Little being out. So that's really it from Portland, and that's it for these 9 games, guys. So hope you guys did enjoy this breakdown. I appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, hit that like button down below. Hit the subscribe button as well if you have not yet. Again, go check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. Go sign up for PrizePicks. Use code NOAH when you do, and PrizePicks will give you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my code. You can take a look at what PrizePicks has to offer. You can make some picks for tonight's NBA games. You can take a look at, you know, their board for other sports. PrizePicks does offer a ton of other sports outside of NBA, so if you want to dabble into PrizePicks, you can mix and match sports. You can win up to 10 extra money over there. Check them out. Sign up. Use code NOAH when you do, and you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. But that's it for this Friday night slate, guys. Appreciate you watching the video. Hope you did enjoy, and we will see you in the next one.